Okay, I'm reading a really incredible book right now, and it's not normal for me to halfway through a book stop and do even a partial book review, but I wanted to do it this time because we're about a month out from school starting, and I'm taking notes in kind of an unusual way, and I wanted to go ahead and share with you kind of how I'm taking notes on the book. Just, I guess, in case somebody else might want to read the same book and take notes on it as well, and also read this book before we go back to school because it's an amazing book. This book is Adrenaline Rush, and it's by John Meehan, and it's one of the best books that I have read in terms of student engagement. And it is basically broken up into 3 parts, and I'm about halfway through it. Like I said, it breaks it up into modeling a classroom around the way theme parks are run, mud runs, and escape rooms. And I'm totally done with theme parks, halfway through mud run, or a little over halfway through with mud runs. And I've not read escape rooms, but I have followed Mr. Meehan on Twitter for quite some time, and I do know some of what I believe to be in that chapter as well. And the strategies that he uses in this book, it is no wonder that he has student engagement. It is pretty incredible. So the way I started to take notes, I started in the way, just the typical annotation style, and I had to kind of stop with that. Well, not stop, but I had to go to a secondary strategy, which was basically, there are several blank pages in this book. And so one that I used in the front was a strategies I want to try page. And what I did was I basically used a page number, a strategy, and I used a number as kind of a star rating. But the star rating isn't for how much I liked a particular strategy. It was for how hard I thought a particular strategy, or how labor intensive I thought a particular strategy would be to prepare for, in terms of how much preparation time it would take. If it's something I already do, I wrote that as well, because some of these things I've done already. There are just some amazing strategies in here, starting with Egg Dash Challenge, which probably most of you know about from last year's, where that caught everybody by storm on Twitter, to snowball fights, to Rory's Story Cubes, to the Marshmallow Challenge, which I think I may use that to build some Eiffel Towers in my classroom, in my French room at least. There are just amazing. I just can't say enough. And it's not just that in the Disney section, but there's also how alternate ways of grouping that I hadn't thought of prior. And there's also weenies. And you think about weenies, does that mean hot dogs? But it really doesn't. It's that Mr. Walt Disney put a lot of effort into thinking about what do we look at when we stand in a long line. And so Mr. Meehan as well spent a lot of time thinking about what do we look at when we're in the classroom. So kind of taking stock in what is in our classroom and what do we want the kids looking at, what should be in our room, who should put it in our room, why is it there? So just amazing strategies in here. Then also, by the way, when I got to the mudroom section, there is a strategy of essays where students can, they're competing against themselves. They're not competing against anyone else but themselves. And I think that's wonderful, because if you're not talented at a mud run, which as I got to that chapter, I was thinking, oh, a mud run, seriously? But as I read that chapter, I thought, wow, I could do this. And I found that that's exactly what you're doing. You are competing against yourself. And this chapter is geared toward anyone. And I looked at this and thought about, okay, well, how could I take a student and take their essays and help them to grow in their writing? And just awesome. Now, in the back, there are several other blank pages as well. He gives a lot of resources, by the way, at the end. And right past that, and past his bio, I started a to-do list. And I feel this is really important because I think the most important thing on that to-do list is important before I do anything else. And he points this out as well. It says, do your park map and define your hubs, because it is great to have all these amazing strategies. But if you think about Disney, they've got their map, they've got their center, they've got their arms that go out and spring from that center hub. And we as educators have to think about, we don't want to get distracted by the games. We want to think about, what do we need the kids to learn? And we need to make that the focus, but we want to consider, okay, let's now engage them with a lot of these strategies that are in this book. And he provides online resources as well to complement what's in here too. Then I've got more to-do lists with other things to look at on his websites, as well as other places he's kind of sent us to look at things. After that, I've got a couple of pages of just awesome quotes that either someone else has said that he noted, like Walt Disney. It's kind of fun to do the impossible. That's what I said when I was working toward my national boards. It's kind of fun to do the impossible. To this one, captivate your students' imaginations, and there will be no limit to what they can achieve. And that's John Meehan. And I just love that quote, because I believe that. I believe that, and empower our students to believe in themselves and that their learning can be endless. So there are some amazing quotes in this book. After that, I have a whole page on kind of multimedia resources to use, and then also another page of other books I'd like to read. And he included that as well. He has a bibliography of other books that I should read, but I kind of started one of my own that prioritizes some of those books of where I want to start. So that's just my list of how I feel about this book so far, because I love this book. I knew I was going to love this book. And I don't know John Meehan. I've never met John Meehan. But I have to say, it has been a pleasure following him on Twitter. And I feel like, thank you for writing this book, because I feel like we've all profited from this. And I think it's just amazing. So I hope at least everybody at my school will go out and buy it. I know my principal has, at least. Thanks.